A few questions to Bleacher Report national college basketball writer Kerry Miller, who joins us now on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Kerry, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You have BYU as the 9th most unstoppable offense in all of college hoops. What do you like most about this version of the Cougar offense under Mark Pope?
Oh, they're just one of the best shooting teams in the country. I think Dayton might be ahead of them in effective field goal percentages because the Flyers are hitting a historic rate of their two-pointers. But, man, BYU, when they get a shot off, it goes in far more often than not. They struggled recently in that game against San Diego, but, still even in that game, shot 50% inside the arc or about 38% beyond it. And when they're doing that, when they're struggling, that tells you how good they are when they aren't.
Gary, what's a two-pointer? I didn't understand. What? the game has evolved so much, right, the last couple of years. And now BYU's not just chucking from deep. They're pretty efficient with it. How has that weighed into your rankings in terms of BYU being the number one three-point shooting offense?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a huge part of it. When you have basically everybody on the roster can hit threes, that's kind of the Villanova model that they've won 2 national championships with. The last one they had, Omari Spellman was, 6'9" center. He's still shooting like 40% from three-point range. I mean, that's just the way the game has gone. So if you're able to hit threes, especially this season with the national three-point percentage lower than it's, I think, ever been since they extended the three-point line now, when you're shooting around 42%, that's a heck of an edge for you.
It is pretty wild that the three-point line moved back and BYU's numbers have jumped up so dramatically to 42.3%.
And I have a theory on this, Kerry. So members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the United States, they have gyms in the churches, right? Shouldn't the Mormons be the best shooting teams in the country? We have gyms in the churches.
You got gyms of the YMCAs too, and I don't think that has anything to do with specific religion. The craziest part of it to me is Barcelo shot below 30% in his 2 seasons with Arizona. Now he's shooting above 50% for BYU, and they moved the line back. It makes no sense whatsoever, but that's just such a huge boom for them, for him to be that good. I mean, Toulson's shooting around 45%. I think he did last year as well, but even Yoli has extended his game shooting like 40% beyond the arc. So it's just so tough to stop a team that can go 5 out on you, especially when Childs can just destroy you in the paint if he decides not to be on the perimeter.
Kerry Miller of Bleacher Report, college basketball insider with us on BYU Sports Nation, has BYU as the 9th most unstoppable offense in all of college basketball. Kerry, why aren't the Cougars higher on your list?
So they have one of the weirdest profiles for an offense that I've ever seen, where I think they're 5th in turnover percentage, something like 2nd in effective field goal percentage, but they're bottom 5 in the nation, both in offensive rebounding and in free throw rate. So even if they're making shots like you saw against San Diego, they can still get held to 72 points just because they don't create second chance opportunities. They don't manufacture points at the free throw line. It's just, they got to make those shots. They're kind of one and done on pretty much every possession. So that hurts them a little bit. But still, even without being able to manufacture points, they're scoring like crazy.
Kerry, there's way too much logic in that. I just want you to tell me that BYU is number 1.
Unfortunately, I think I had Gonzaga at number 1 in that thing.
Hey, we're used to that here, man. We're used to that. We're like, okay, who's taking 2nd in the league this year? Let's talk about that. In your article, you acknowledged, hey, when BYU's played some real quality teams, and BYU's played likely 3 of the 4 1 seeds at this point, plus Houston and some other teams, BYU has struggled. And you acknowledged, Yoli Childs hasn't been in all of those games, had the 9-game suspension, missed 4 with the finger. We're interested to watch Saturday's game against Gonzaga because BYU is going to have Yoli Childs against one of those top seeds in the country. I guess your thoughts on BYU and Gonzaga matching up Saturday night? Yeah,
I'm super intrigued by that game. I mean, everybody's all jazzed up about the Kansas-Baylor matchup earlier in the day, but I think Gonzaga-BYU might honestly be the highlight because no matter what, Kansas and Baylor, they're probably going to be 1 seeds the next day anyway. But, this could possibly knock Gonzaga off the 1 line. It could bump BYU up to like a 5, or it might cement Gonzaga as the potential number 1 overall seed. I think that one has more implications, and I'm definitely interested to see how good BYU does look at full strength. Was able to watch most of the St. Mary's game a couple of weeks ago, and man, I think they had like 87 points in a 70-possession game, just really proving how unstoppable they can be at full strength.
Kerry Miller, Bleacher Report, with us on BYU Sports Nation. What seed would you give BYU right now on the bracket seed line?
I think I have BYU as a 7 right now. I know they're right around 20th, both in net and Ken Palm. I'm a little bit lower than that. I mean, that would put them as a bottom number 5 seed or a top number 6 seed. But I think just the lack of, really statement wins, aside from the road win over Houston, I don't think they have a really solid win all season. I know they have a neutral site win over Utah State, but that's a team right on the bubble, so that doesn't do a whole lot for you. But I think they're in great shape. And if they do beat Gonzaga on Saturday, I'd probably vault them up to a 5.
In terms of what an offense can do in carrying you in the postseason, it felt like in the past it's like, hey, defense is going to keep you in the game, offense is going to win you the game. How do you feel like BYU would fare if they were a 7 in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's tough to say because, last year it was Virginia against Texas Tech for the national championship, 2 of the best defensive teams in the country. And I think more teams have been more focused on defense, in part because of that, in part because of the extended 3-point line and the importance of boxing out and whatnot. So I think this year defense is going to be more important than it has been in the past. But there's always that one team. Last year it was Auburn, or I guess there were 2, Auburn and Purdue, that they could just score 90 points against any defense. They just catch fire from 3-point range and you can't stop them. And I think BYU could be that team, considering they're leading the nation in 3-point percentage.
Kerry, if you had to make your pick now, how far would you see this BYU team moving in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, that's tough to say, not knowing the bracket, but I think Sweet 16 is more than reasonable for BYU. Eventually they're going to run into a really good 3-point defense and, a team that can run them off the perimeter, and that's going to be trouble. If they're the 7 seed matched up with Duke as a 2 seed, like that's Jordan Goldwire and Trey Jones are going to give them a world of trouble trying to get off threes, and that'll lower their ceiling. But I think with the right draw, they could definitely get the Sweet 16, and God, who knows at that point? Once the bracket breaks a little bit, anything's possible.
You say Sweet 16, and our response is to put on the blue goggles, man.
Hey, I love it.
Everything looks better through some BYU blue goggles.
Kerry, you're my favorite guest we've had on today. It's fantastic.
Blue goggle alert.
Kerry, great to talk to you, man. We appreciate the insight and look forward to a fantastic February and March of basketball.
All right, you got it. Take care, guys.
Kerry Miller on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.
My guy, Kerry,